What's going on, everyone? So today we're going to be doing Leetcode number 20. It's called valid parentheses. It's a pretty classic one. You'll see this a lot floating around, and it's a good pattern to be familiar with because there's a lot of other questions that deal with a similar pattern. And so you can also see that in the last 6 months this has been asked at Bloomberg, Amazon, Facebook, Apple. A lot of companies seem to really like to ask this question, so definitely a good one to know. It is a little tricky when you first encounter it, but once you kind of understand how to do it, it's actually not that bad. You can actually solve it pretty quickly. So let's take a look at the prompt here. Given a string S containing just the characters open paren, close paren, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, open square bracket, and closed square bracket, determine if the input string is valid. An input string is valid if open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets, okay, and open brackets must be closed in the correct order. So here we have example 1. We have an open and closed paren. That's obviously true. Here we have 3 different types of parens. We have an open, closed, regular paren, square bracket, curly bracket, but they all even out, so that's true. Example 3, these are opposite, so it's not a valid paren, even though you have an open and a closed. It's 2 different types of paren. String 4 is also false, and string 5 is true. Okay, so the way we want to think about this is you just want to, anytime you come to one of these types of problems, you want to think about using a stack data structure. You can just use an array and then just use the pop operation, the push and pop operation that will add and remove from the end of the array, and it's a constant time operation as well. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and create a stack. Okay, and we'll just set that to an empty array. Now, what we could do with this string is we have to iterate over this string. We could split it into an array and then go ahead and iterate over each one of those elements, but a much better way is to just use a variable that stores the index, so that way you're not creating a lot of extra space. So we'll just create an I variable, set it to 0. Okay, and then I believe that is all we need for this. So now we're just going to go ahead and iterate over the input string. Okay, so we can just do while I is less than s dot length. Okay, and once we get in here, what we want to do is we want to push in the ith element of the string. Okay, so we can do stack dot push. And we have our string index at I. We'll increment I. And then what we want to do, and excuse me, we do need one more element here. We need a parens. Okay, so this is just something that we can compare our elements in the stack to. Okay, so we have a paren string here, and that'll just make sure that we have something to compare to. Okay, so we increment I here, and then what we want to do is we want to pull out the last 2 elements in our stack. Okay, so we want to have a let open, and that's going to be stack at stack of length minus 2. Okay, and then we have a close. It's going to equal stack at stack dot length minus 1. Okay, and now we want to check, are these valid open and closed? Okay, so I'll just create a 3rd variable here, and I'll say potential parens, and then I'll just go ahead and combine the open plus the closed. Okay, so we're just going to check, is this, the 2 elements that we pulled off the stack, is it a valid parentheses? Okay, and the way we want to do that is we just want to say if parens includes parens. So if these 2 open and closed are indeed included in here, so it is a valid paren in that stack, then we just want to pop off those two things off of the stack. Stack.pop, stack.pop. Okay? And that's all we need to do here. Now all we need to do is, if our stack is empty, that means we have valid parentheses. If there is something left in our stack, that means it's invalid. So we can just do a return stack.length equals 0. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. Let's see, pot parens is parens.includes pot parens, spell this right, includes stack.pop. Let's see here. If. There we go. Always a little typos. And yeah, and there we go. Okay. And so, yeah, so the main thing we want to look at is just make sure anytime you come to these parentheses, just remember to put it into a stack. Okay, you can step through each one of these just so it makes more sense to you if you're still confused on it. But once you kind of understand that how a stack works, this problem is not that difficult. You can, all the variations of this problem also become a lot more clear.